She said, "You look sad, mister. Wanna meet my mommy?" The Millionaire CEO didn't expect what came next on New Year's Eve. Under the glowing holiday lights of Central Park, amid the laughter and bustle of families welcoming the new year, a man sat alone on a bench near the frozen lake. His tailored coat barely concealed the slump in his shoulders. His name was James Whitmore, a 38-year-old tech CEO with all the success the world admired and none of the joy that once mattered. Can you imagine having everything, yet feeling so empty? That's where our story begins, and trust me, it's about to pull at your heartstrings. Stay with Real Stories Diary to see how one small voice changes everything. The sparkle of distant fireworks reflected in his tired eyes, but left no impression. He was alone by choice. Or so he thought. "You look sad, mister. Wanna meet my mommy?" The voice was small, sweet, and entirely unexpected. James looked down to see a little girl, no more than 3 years old, standing beside him. Her blonde hair peeked out from a worn knit cap. She wore mismatched socks over bare feet and held a crumpled piece of bread in one hand. Despite it all, her eyes were full of light. "You look really sad," she repeated, tilting her head. "I thought maybe you want to meet my mommy. She always makes me smile when I'm sad." James blinked, caught between surprise and something close to amusement. "Your mommy, huh?" She nodded eagerly, scattering crumbs. "She's over there." The girl pointed toward the edge of the park. A woman crouched near a trash bin, carefully sifting through discarded containers. Even at a distance, there was a grace to her movements, measured, almost dignified. Her golden hair shimmered under the street lamp. "She's really pretty," the little girl added. "But she gets tired. We're looking for food tonight." James's heart gave a quiet lurch. What would you do if a child's kindness reached out to you in your darkest moment? Keep listening to Real Stories Diary, because this encounter is just the beginning of something extraordinary. "What's your name?" "Lisa." "Is your mommy okay with you talking to strangers?" "She says I shouldn't, but you look like you needed a friend." "I know that feeling. I don't have any friends either." James hesitated. Then, as if by instinct, he rose when Lisa reached for his hand. Her fingers were ice cold. "I'm James," he said. "Nice to meet you, James." She led him through the park, past families taking selfies under glowing trees and children chasing sparklers. For the first time in months, James noticed how removed he had always felt from these moments. But this child, barefoot and smiling, had somehow bridged that gap. As they neared the woman, she looked up. Her expression shifted from tired to alarm. She stood, dropping a container of pasta back into a bag and rushed toward them. "Lisa," she called, her voice tight. "What did I say about wandering?" She stopped when she saw James, tall and well-dressed, holding her daughter's hand. Her eyes narrowed with protective instinct. "I'm so sorry if she bothered you. She talks to people sometimes. I've told her not to." James raised his hands gently. "No bother, truly. She thought I looked lonely." She was right. The woman kept Lisa close, her gaze wary. "She has a big heart," she said, her voice softening. "So I see," James replied, studying her. She looked younger up close, perhaps 26, but worn by life. Despite her tiredness, there was something undeniably composed about her, even elegant, a kind of quiet strength. "I'm James," he said. She introduced me. "But I'd like to know the name of the woman who raised such a brave little girl." "Anna," she said after a pause. "Nice to meet you, Anna." He looked from Lisa back to her. "Would you both let me buy you something warm to eat? There's a cafe just nearby." Anna's lips parted, hesitant. "That's not necessary. We're fine." "I know," James said. "But maybe I'm not." She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, just something small." Lisa brightened. "Can I get hot chocolate?" James smiled. "Absolutely." As they walked toward the cafe, something stirred inside him. Nothing drastic, just the faintest unraveling of a knot he had not known was there. It was only a beginning. But sometimes, a beginning was everything. Under the soft cascade of New Year's lights strung along the trees, the night air held a chill that wrapped itself around every breath. The small trio, James, Lisa, and the woman he now knew as Anna, moved toward a corner cafe, tucked beneath the warm glow of a flickering street lamp. James gestured toward the cafe just a few feet away. Steam curled up from a cart parked in front of it, the scent of cocoa and pastries rich in the cold air. "Hot chocolate for Lisa and whatever you'd like," he said. "It's cold out, a small comfort." Anna looked at the cart, then back at him. He could almost see the calculation in her eyes. Not just about money, but about dignity. After a long moment, she nodded once. "All right, but just one cup," she said. For her. James didn't argue. He stepped ahead to place the order and soon returned with 2 steaming paper cups. Lisa took hers eagerly, cupping it in both hands like it was something magical. Her eyes lit up as she took a careful sip. "Be careful, it's hot," Anna reminded her softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. James handed the second cup to Anna. She accepted it with a quiet nod, fingers red and raw from the cold, her nails short and clean. She didn't sip right away, just held it, warming her hands. "Do you live nearby?" James asked. Anna hesitated. "We move around." "That sounds hard." "It is," she admitted. "But it's life." He watched her carefully. She stood just behind Lisa, always one step back like a shield. Even when Lisa spilled a few drops on her coat, Anna didn't flinch. "It's okay, sweetheart," she said. "We'll find a way to clean it." James took a sip of his own cocoa and let his eyes linger on Anna. There was something about the way she moved, the way she carried herself, not broken, but composed, not defeated, but alert. She had no reason to be kind, no reason to trust him. Yet she was here, thanking him for a cup of cocoa like he had done something profound. "May I ask," he began carefully, "how long it's been like this, you two?" Anna looked down at Lisa, now seated on the edge of a planter, swinging her legs and humming quietly. 3 years, she said softly. "Since Lisa was born, really. Things went wrong early on. I was in school and she trailed off. It's a long story." "I have time," James said gently. She glanced at him again, her eyes tired but calm. There was no bitterness in them, only truth. She held herself with quiet dignity, like someone who'd learned to survive without losing her soul. "I'll tell you sometime," Anna said finally. "Maybe." James nodded. "Fair enough." They stood there for a while, sipping cocoa as the park behind them shimmered with lights and laughter. But in that small corner beside a weathered cafe cart and a humming child in borrowed socks, something different stirred. James glanced at Anna, her face softly illuminated in the golden glow, and thought, not for the first time, that this might be the most honest conversation he'd had in years. They found a bench not far from the cafe, tucked beneath a tree wrapped in string lights that blinked lazily against the evening sky. Lisa was curled up between them, sipping the last of her hot chocolate, her eyes heavy with sleep, but still too excited by the lights to close them just yet. James watched her for a moment. The way she leaned into her mother's side with quiet trust. The way Anna gently stroked her back in small, rhythmic circles. "You said you were in school," James said, careful to keep his tone soft. Anna nodded, her gaze still on Lisa. "Nursing. I wanted to be a pediatric nurse." James was not surprised. There was something innately nurturing about her. Something even exhaustion could not dull. "What happened?" She took a slow breath, as if deciding how much to say. "I was in my 3rd year, top of my class. I found out I was pregnant just after midterms. The father, well, he left before I even started to show." She said it plainly. No edge to her voice, no bitterness. "My family wasn't really around, and school doesn't exactly wait for life to get sorted." She gave a faint smile. "I tried to hang on, but tuition, rent, medical bills, they don't stop piling up." James listened, eyes steady, heart growing heavier with every word. "I just kept going," she said, her fingers brushing Lisa's hair aside. "Because I had her. He looked at her then, not just at her clothes or her tired eyes, but at the woman herself. She was not hardened, though life had given her every reason to be. She was soft in a way that defied circumstance, her spirit intact despite everything. As they sat in silence, another figure approached, a man in worn layers, pushing a cart with cans. He stopped a few feet away, eyeing the half-eaten pastry in Lisa's hand. Before James could react, Anna stood and walked over to her bag. She pulled out a foil-wrapped sandwich James had seen her tuck away earlier. She walked to the man, smiled, and handed it to him without hesitation. "Merry Christmas," she said gently, though Christmas had passed days ago. The man muttered a thank you and moved on. Anna returned to the bench, her expression unchanged, as if this was simply what one did. James looked at her, stunned. "That was your dinner." She shrugged. He needed it more. "We already had hot chocolate." It was not said as martyrdom. It was a simple truth. She treats the world with kindness, James thought to himself, even when it's never been kind to her. Later, as Lisa grew sleepier, Anna pulled a tattered children's book from her bag. The cover was faded, the spine taped. James watched as Anna flipped it open and began to tell a story. Not the one written on the page, but a new one she made up as she went along. In a big shiny city lived a little princess with no shoes, but the biggest heart, she began. Lisa's eyes fluttered as she listened. And one snowy night, she met a sad man with a frozen heart. So she gave him a smile, and he began to thaw, little by little. James smiled faintly, recognizing the characters. He leaned back, his heart unusually full. "She does this every night?" he asked quietly. Anna nodded. "She doesn't know how hard the world can be. I don't want her to. Not yet. So, I make it magical while I still can." James said nothing, watching as Anna gently untangled Lisa's curls with a small plastic comb, its teeth chipped and handle cracked. She moved slowly, carefully, like this small moment of grooming was sacred. She looked up at him, perhaps sensing his gaze. "I know what we look like, but she doesn't feel poor. Not when we're together." James swallowed against the lump rising in his throat. It struck him how easy it would have been for Anna to become someone else entirely, someone hardened, bitter, angry. Instead, she had chosen kindness over and over again. Most people in his world, the elite, the powerful, they gave to charity when it was convenient. They donated checks for tax write-offs. But Anna, she gave with her hands, with her warmth, with her food, with her stories. She gave because she knew what it meant to need. And in that moment, James realized something else. He was not here to save her. She was not someone who needed rescuing. She was someone who, even with nothing, had already saved someone. She had saved her daughter, and now, without trying, she was saving him, too. The park had grown quieter as the night deepened. Families were slowly making their way home, children bundled up in their parents' arms, the occasional pop of a firecracker echoing in the distance. The wind carried the scent of roasted chestnuts and pine, but for James, the cold air felt sharper now, like it was pressing against something he had kept locked away for too long. Anna sat beside him on the same bench where they had shared cocoa and stories. Lisa had finally drifted into sleep, curled up with her head in her mother's lap, her tiny fingers still clutching the frayed edge of her blanket. Anna's hand moved gently across her daughter's back, a motion as automatic as breathing. James stared ahead, his jaw set, the silence between them heavy with unspoken truths. Finally, his voice emerged, low and hesitant. "This used to be my favorite night of the year." Anna turned her head slightly, but did not interrupt. "Every December 31st, my wife and I would come to this park," James continued. "We'd bring a blanket, a thermos of mulled wine, and just sit right here. Actually, we made it a tradition." He let out a breathless laugh. "It was our way of ending the year together. No parties, no noise, just us." Anna listened, her expression soft. "Her name was Rachel," James said. "She had this wild laugh that made everyone turn their heads. And she was tough, stronger than me in every way that counted." His eyes remained fixed on a distant point across the park. "We were married for 7 years before the diagnosis came. Ovarian cancer, stage 3. Anna's hand paused for a second, then resumed its gentle motion on Lisa's back. The first year was hopeful, James said. We fought. Doctors, specialists, clinical trials. I threw money at everything, every possible treatment. I thought I could beat it, that if I just tried hard enough, paid enough, searched long enough, I could save her. His voice broke slightly, and he cleared his throat. But it came back stronger, and she got tired. She started to prepare for the end. She made me promise I'd keep living. He exhaled shakily. And I said I would, but I didn't. Anna turned to look at him now, her eyes filled not with pity, but with understanding. I built a company, made more money, filled my days with meetings and numbers. But inside, I stopped living the moment she closed her eyes. His voice grew quieter. I was there when it happened. I held her hand. She was only 36. The silence that followed was thick with weight. James closed his eyes, pressing his palms together, elbows resting on his knees. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he felt the sting in his eyes, hot and blinding. And before he could stop it, a single tear slipped down his cheek. I'm sorry, he whispered, ashamed. I don't usually. You couldn't save her, Anna said gently, her voice the softest he had ever heard it. But she knew she was loved. That's everything. James turned to her, startled. Those words hit somewhere deep, a place he had buried under guilt and silence for years. You think that's enough? He asked, not angry, just broken. Anna looked down at Lisa, brushing a lock of hair from her daughter's forehead. Every night, I wonder if I'm doing enough. If sleeping on benches, asking for scraps, not having a home, it's damaging her. But then she looks at me like I'm her whole world. She looked back at James. And I realized love is more than enough. It is the one thing that cannot be taken away. James stared at her, and the tears he had tried to suppress came freely now. He wiped them with the back of his hand, but they kept coming. I haven't cried since the funeral, he admitted. Not once. I thought if I did, I'd never stop. Anna did not say anything more. She simply shifted closer, careful not to wake Lisa, and let her shoulder rest lightly against his. No words, no pressure, just presence. It was more comforting than anything James had experienced in 2 years. They sat like that for a long time, two broken souls stitched together by silence and shared sorrow. The world around them continued to celebrate, oblivious to the quiet moment of healing happening on a cold bench in Central Park. And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, James let himself feel everything. Grief, relief, longing, and something else he could not quite name. Hope. The night after New Year's, James checked Anna and Lisa into a modest extended-stay hotel in a quiet part of the city. The room had warm lighting, a kitchenette, and most importantly, a bed just for Lisa. She squealed with joy and leapt onto it like it was made of clouds. Anna lingered near the door, gripping the straps of her worn bag. James set the key card on the counter. It's paid for a month, he said. You decide what comes next. Anna opened her mouth to protest, but he raised a hand. No strings, just a place to rest. She hesitated, then nodded. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he replied. Just rest. The next morning, he returned with bagels and coffee. Lisa, still in pajamas, danced around the kitchenette with a plastic spoon. Anna looked more rested than ever, though her smile still held caution over breakfast. James spoke gently. There's a nursing program nearby. Part-time night classes. You mentioned school, if you're still interested. Anna blinked. You looked into it. He nodded. And I'll cover the tuition if you want it. She was quiet for a long moment. I never stopped wanting it. I just stopped believing it was possible. Well, he said softly, maybe it is now. The following week, Anna enrolled. James supported from a respectful distance. She insisted on working part-time to contribute. He offered her a cleaning job at one of his smaller offices, a quiet place with kind staff. she accepted immediately. 3 nights a week, Anna cleaned offices while Lisa colored nearby or watched cartoons on James's old iPod. On weekends, James took Lisa to the park so Anna could study. He never tried to rescue her. He simply showed up, bringing soup, reviewing flashcards, making sock puppets to keep Lisa laughing. They settled into a rhythm. Each Thursday, James invited them to his apartment, a sleek, too-empty place that began to feel lived in. They cooked simple meals together. Lisa loved helping James stir the magic, and Anna often read her notes aloud at the table as dinner simmered. One Thursday, James arrived early with groceries. The door was ajar. He knocked, then stepped in. The TV was off. Lisa was asleep on the couch, a book resting on her chest. Anna sat at the small table, highlighter in hand, eyes locked on her binder. A cold cup of tea sat beside her. She was studying, focused, steady, determined. She didn't even see him. James paused in the doorway, watching her. Something shifted in his chest. She was not hoping to be saved. She was creating something. In that moment, he understood it was not charity she needed. It was belief. She had the rest. When she finally looked up and saw him, she smiled, open, unguarded. "You're early," she said, tucking her hair behind her ear. "I thought I'd help with dinner. Maybe quiz you while we cook." She grinned. "Deal." As they moved through the small kitchen, James marveled at how easy it felt. Unforced, familiar, no urgency, no fear, just peace. From the couch, Lisa stirred. "Mommy, don't forget my story." Anna wiped her hands and knelt by her daughter, kissing her forehead. "I never forget." James stood back, watching them, and felt something loosen inside him, not dramatically, but deeply. He had thought parts of him were gone, lost to grief, that nothing could reach those places again. And yet, here they were, a woman reclaiming her future, a child thriving, a man learning what it meant to belong. It was not grand. It was not loud. It was quiet, steady, real, and for the first time in years, James was not afraid of what came next. He was ready for it. It was a Tuesday evening when James noticed something was off. He had grown used to their routine. Anna would text after class, sometimes with a lecture question, other times just a photo of Lisa doodling hearts in the margins of her workbook. But tonight, there was nothing. No message, no reply to his check-in an hour later. He tried not to overthink it. Maybe Anna was tired. Maybe Lisa needed extra attention. But as the hours passed, a quiet worry settled into his chest. By 9 p.m., he was driving across town. The streets were quiet, slick from recent rain, lights casting long reflections on the pavement. When he reached the extended stay hotel, he took the stairs 2 at a time and knocked gently on the door. No answer. He knocked again, firmer. After a pause, the door creaked open. Anna stood there, her hair pulled into a loose bun, shadows under her eyes. Behind her, James could hear the soft sound of coughing. "James," she said, surprised. "You didn't have to come." "You missed class," he said, stepping inside without waiting. "I was worried." She moved aside silently. Lisa was curled on the bed, cheeks flushed, a damp washcloth on her forehead. A thermometer and a half-finished bottle of children's medicine sat nearby alongside an open textbook and scattered flashcards. "She started feeling sick last night," Anna explained, adjusting the blanket over Lisa. "Fever hit this morning. I didn't want to bother you." James knelt by the bed, gently brushing a finger through Lisa's hair. "Is she okay?" "Just a cold," Anna said softly. "I've been watching her fever. It's going down." He glanced at the table. Notes were scribbled everywhere. A half-eaten sandwich sat untouched beside a highlighter. "You were still studying?" he asked. "I have an exam Thursday," she said, a little defensively. "I can't afford to fall behind." James stood, watching her, the exhaustion in her face, the determination in her posture, the tenderness in every movement. "Why do you push yourself so hard?" he asked quietly. Anna looked at him, startled. Then her gaze dropped to Lisa. Because she believes I can be more. She knelt beside the bed. She thinks I can do anything, and if I give up now, I'd be proving the world right instead of her. James felt something shift deep inside. He had admired Anna before for her strength, her grace, her selflessness. But now, standing in that dim room, watching her care for her daughter while balancing a textbook in her lap, he understood. It was not just admiration. It was love. He loved her not because she needed saving, but because she never asked to be saved, because she kept fighting, kept believing, kept going, even when life had given her every reason to stop. He stepped forward, reached for the flashcards in her hands, and said gently, "Let me help." Anna looked up at him and truly saw him. Her expression softened, not with surprise, but with understanding. She nodded. In that small, quiet room, surrounded by the hum of the city and the breath of a sleeping child, something profound settled between them. This was no longer just Anna's story. It was his, too, and he would not let it slip away. 1 year later, the city was once again wrapped in winter's soft glow. Snowflakes danced lazily through the crisp evening air as buildings shimmered with golden light. The sounds of carolers and countdown broadcasts echoed faintly down the streets. It was New Year's Eve, but for James, this time it felt different. It felt like coming home. He stood in the doorway of his brownstone, watching the two people who had quietly and completely transformed his world. Anna stepped inside first, shaking snow from her coat, a soft flush on her cheeks from the cold. She wore a pale blue nurse's uniform, fresh from her shift at the community hospital. The badge clipped to her chest read, "Anna Collins, RN." 3 letters that had cost her countless sleepless nights and hard-fought days. Lisa skipped in behind her, twirling in a new sparkly pink dress that James had let her pick out earlier that week. She clutched a small homemade card in one hand and waved it proudly above her head. "Look what I made," she exclaimed, holding it out to him. In glittery letters and crayon swirls, the card read, "Our first real New Year's together." James felt his throat tighten as he took the card and knelt beside her. "It's perfect," he said. "Just like you." Anna smiled from the kitchen, already unpacking the groceries he had left on the counter earlier. Nothing fancy, just pasta, garlic bread, and a chocolate cake Lisa had helped decorate with way too many sprinkles. The house felt alive in a way it never had before. It was not just the warm lighting or the smell of dinner wafting from the oven. It was laughter, Lisa's giggles from the living room, Anna's humming in the kitchen, the sound of plates being set on the table by someone who finally belonged. When dinner was ready, they sat down at the table together, hands brushing as they passed the salad, their conversation easy, familiar. James found himself stealing glances at Anna, in awe of how far she had come. From the woman in the threadbare coat outside the cafe to the confident nurse with fire in her heart. After dinner, they moved to the living room. Lisa nestled into James's side with a blanket as Anna lit candles on the windowsill. The fireplace crackled quietly, adding a golden warmth to the moment. As the final minutes of the year ticked down, James stood and walked to Anna, who was watching the snow fall through the frosted glass. He touched her hand gently, then turned her to face him. "You didn't just save her," he said softly, voice full of truth. "You saved me." Anna's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. She placed a hand on his chest, over his heart. "I think we saved each other." He leaned in and kissed her slowly, reverently, as if trying to thank her for everything she had given him without asking for a thing in return. Lisa squealed from the couch. "EW. Kissing." And then burst into a fit of laughter. They all laughed together. The kind of laughter that came from peace, not perfection, but presence. The TV flickered with the final countdown. 10, 9, 8. James pulled Anna close, wrapping his arm around her shoulder, and Lisa clung to his other side. All 3 huddled on the couch beneath one blanket. 5, for outside, the first firework exploded, painting the sky in brilliant silver and red. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Lisa shouted, throwing confetti made from cut-up tissue paper into the air. Anna looked at James. "You ready for a new beginning?" He smiled. "I already got mine." And in that living room, surrounded by quiet joy and unconditional love, they began a new year. Not as strangers or survivors, but as a family. Not perfect, but real. And so, on a cold winter night that once symbolized endings, a new beginning quietly bloomed, full of warmth, second chances, and the kind of love that asks for nothing, but gives everything. From a park bench in Central Park to a home filled with laughter and hope, one little girl's simple question changed 3 lives forever. Sometimes miracles do not come wrapped in grand gestures. They come in cocoa-stained smiles, whispered bedtime stories, and the quiet courage of a mother who never gave up. Thank you for joining us on this soul-stirring journey of love, resilience, and healing with Real Stories Diary. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Real Stories Diary for more heartfelt tales that inspire, uplift, and remind us all of the beauty in being human. Until next time, stay kind and never stop believing in second chances.